my particular philosophy is that I want to inspire the students, okay? Give them a good philosophy to follow. It's very important. Okay? I think in the end, the self-motivation is the most important one. If they could take your advice, take your suggestion, take your input, and then turn that into a very important motivation, that you will find someone very successful. I think at least one example, I have other students who really take my suggestion seriously. And that's, I don't think, at least I think the philosophy I was sharing is very popular. And I told you, probably many people will tell their students, when you sacrifice mice, at least you should say thank you. Okay? If you cultivate them, have that kind of concept, gradually they'll say yes, yeah. It's important to design experiment responsibly. Right? If you don't have that concept, the student take it for granted. I have you think the lab had so much money to burn. They were all like 100 mice. And doing the design experiment. And then the experiment in the end failed because the person who did the experiment did not carefully design the experiment. When the experiment failed, all 100 mice just disappeared. You have to sacrifice all of them. You waste money, you waste life, you waste energy. Because you don't do that responsibly with that concept of thank you. If you could do that thank you at the beginning, you will say, yes, I have 10 miles. Each group design, I want to be very careful. I make sure the reagent there, reagent B is there, and allow me to do a right experiment, finish the experiment once for all. Mice experiment, you should design it without repeating because it's such a variable. But you need to have a certain statistical power to allow you to make sure that happens. And I think with that concept, how to become a good PI, you personally have a good philosophy. And I think I share with you, I try to be a good PI by sharing my concept with my students. I always tell them the philosophy. I think a lecture, no matter how good lecture, how good the experiment they could do, if they don't have the right concept, you are cultivating a potential scientist that could be a weirdo, that could be a eccentric, and that we don't want. Okay? So my advice to you on how to become a good PI is that exactly share the philosophy with them, see if you could inspire them. Okay, I don't know if that answers your question.
I probably need more advice from you. When I start the faculty jobs, I find the teaching workload is very heavy at the beginning. Then I have two sons, and it takes a lot of time at home. I don't have more time to sleep. And I start several different research projects, and I realize that I don't have more time to work with students in details. When I start at the beginning, I can help them a lot, but now after a few years, I start to feel very exhausted.
Okay.
And I didn't have time to work with students to help them in detail technical issue. And sometimes I wonder if that's okay. What is your advising style? Because I know some faculty, they would still work very closely with students in the technical aspect, but some they just give them the general instruction and inspire them, and they work from there.
I think that's a very important observation you say there. In a young PI, beginning, you have teaching load, and you have so many other things, so you probably did not have much time for the student. But I think this is a mutual process. You have an open-minded and say, whenever student comes to see you, you're willing to offer opportunity to talk to them, to guide them. The student will understand. Okay? And then, like I say, when you teach the first batch of students, you get these first batch to be a teacher for the second batch. The newest student come in. Ask them, because teaching is a way to cultivate them to become a good scientist as well. Okay? So you give them an opportunity to be able to teach, to guide them. Okay? So you do one by one. Okay? And of course, in a lot of times in that meeting, you could always emphasize it's very important to have the right concept. Because when you teach them the right concept, it's better than you teach them the research skill. You give them the tool, as we know, it's always saying. You give someone fish, it's not as good as you give someone a net. So teach them how to catch fish, right? You do the spoon feeding all the time. That's okay at the beginning. But then later on, you need to teach them how to feed themselves. Okay? So the students, the same situation. First batch of students, you put effort to teach them. Second batch, of course, you don't leave them alone. The second batch, you sort of supervise the first batch one to teach the newest student coming. But I think that the other situation is that all the students, you need a concept. You need to have the thought about it's such a demanding job to be a PI. Okay? And then you should be thoughtful. Everything help yourself. But whenever you have some question you want to ask, go ahead and ask. And you should help yourself to do, like I said, the curiosity. If a student doesn't have curiosity, it's certainly so demanding. Okay? You ask them to do the A experiment, and he's counting on you to give him protocol to do the experiment. Those students do not have a self-inspiration. They don't have the right concept. And hopefully, after today's lecture, many of you become self-motivated. Your professor, your advisor give you a protocol. In addition to that A protocol, go to search all the possibilities. What other similar protocol could be available to you? And make a comparison. Try to find something out of it. Okay? Students need to have that concept as well. So it's a mutual, but you keep on teaching them. You need to find your self-motivation. The student need to find self-motivation. As a PI, it's such a demanding job. We've been through all these paths. And we still, in the past, someone is going to hit me really hard when I try to get my paper published. When I try to get my grant approved. Okay? It's very demanding. The student need to be, if you find today's lecture is inspiring, and how we hope you continue to share the thought with other people. Okay? Stop being a scientist. But you need to have the right concept to be a scientist. The PI, very demanding, but you need to have the same responsibility is that, okay, I do my best to help all the students as I can. Okay? And you teach the first one. And then give them share your experience, share your concept with them. Philosophy. Okay? In the end, so all these philosophies make you become a great one. If you don't have the right philosophy, you go ahead in the wrong path. I told you could be published many papers. But in the end, you probably faked 3 or 4 of your paper there. And you lost your humanity. That's not worth it. You can see some of the scandal that's been happening in the cloning experiment, the stem cell experiment. Some people could fake their data for 10 years. And it's certainly not worth it. Please don't do that, because you lost your humanity. So I'm here to share that important concept with you. Okay. Any other question? Okay.
My professors, you said that in Vietnam, if you don't have several millions of dollars, don't think about research. Don't research about cancer. What about what do you think? I will ask this question.
$7 million US. Don't think about cancer research. I know the situation is always difficult because the research is really costs money. Okay? And so I think the government in here, if some of you really could have the channel or any friend or colleague, and we are counting on you. Even though it's tough to do cancer research here now, but if you have determination, seek other opportunity outside here, then one day you may be able to return back to improve the situation. Research does cost money, which nobody can deny, because it's not like a computer science. You have certain knowledge, discovery, and then that can turn into reality right away. Cancer research takes some time to accumulate. And then, but don't feel frustrated. Your professor, they will do their best, and you do your best as a student, study hard, working hard, seek any opportunity, allow you to be trained as a good scientist. Okay? Any other questions? All right. Maybe we move on.
I think it's not quite a question, but a report I read on the newspaper, and I would like to share with you about this report. It's in the case of cancer patient. He's got lung cancer, and he has survived over 38 years. He didn't receive any traditional therapy, and he gave the information about his case. He used the alternative therapy. It relates to the lecture yesterday. He changed his diet. He gave up meat, give up sugar, give up potato and fast food and something like that. And he said that is the main case helped him survive lung cancer, and the doctor so very surprised because they don't see any tumor in his lung. So what do you think about it? Because about the traditional therapy, many patients they do surgery and chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and after that they die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she's asking the tough question. I mean, as we all know, sometimes we see the sample about the people who did not particularly following the Western style of medicine to the chemotherapy. He really changed his lifestyle. I mean, vegetarian, give up the sugar, give up the exercise often, and then being positive, etc. Okay? As we know, there's always the important concept there. I think it's actually more related with our Eastern Asia culture, the body and mind, or body and soul, that we know very well already. Because your body is part of it, but your mind, your soul, is a major driving force for that as well. This is difficult to really measure in a way to know how this mind could help our body. Okay? So you said one example. This person originally diagnosed with lung cancer, but then he changed his lifestyle and totally changed his tumor situation. And that's amazing. People, I have heard news something like that happen. Indeed, okay? So, like you do many other things, the positive attitude is always very important. Cancer, unfortunately, the person get it, but he changed his whole concept. Changed the diet, of course, preventing from getting worse carcinogen, okay? No meat, being a vegetarian have less contamination from we said the meat could be contaminated with the growth hormone, all the antibiotics, or any other preservatives there. Okay? sometimes the way you cook is some carcinogen, so that makes things worse. And then he exercised. He really changed the AMPK or whatever we talk about, mTOR signaling pathway potential. Okay. So these is really depend on people who really want to have a whole concept change that practice. Okay. It could be done. Okay. So that's the reason even the Western medicine is changing that concept as well. MDS and Cancer Center, we have the program, the department of integrated medicine. Okay, like you said, using the alternative method. People taking ginseng, doing meditation, doing acupuncture to help relieve the pain of the cancer, or try to help them to be their mind is much more positive about when they face their disease situation. So it's possible to do. Okay, so it really depends on the person's determination. If he want to do that as the best way to help his or her condition of cancer, that could be done. I certainly agree that's the way people would try to do. But don't totally ignore the Western medicine. There's still some possibility there.
Okay, I would like to make a comment from the standpoint of the physician. Okay, let's say you have this report, okay, and you would like to submit a manuscript as a case report reporting this case to a medical journal. Okay, so what do you think that the reviewer for that journal would ask first? What would you think that would be the first question that the reviewer would ask about this case?
It's not academic journal. It's on magazine, you know. And the man, I think he lived in Maryland state in the United States. Maryland.
Okay. So I don't know whether you read about this case in a newspaper or in a lay people news source or whatever. But if let's say you want to report this case to a medical journal, as a scientist or a physician or they always be skeptical. Okay, the first thing that people would ask, or the reviewer would ask for, is that the patient claims to have cancer. Okay, what is the evidence for the cancer? Okay, is there histology of the pathological specimen or biopsy that you can show that can prove that this indeed is cancer and indeed is the correct type of cancer? Otherwise, if you cannot prove that it is cancer, you don't have a case to report.
Okay, I think we need to move on. Dr. Yang will share some of his experience with you as well.
I said this. I did this information because I think that in Vietnam, I think we lost the program of the nutrition and diet for cancer patients. I think it's very important. I have in my family, my grandfather, he died of lung cancer, and after I joined to some your lecture about nutrition, about diet of cancer, it made me think a lot about it. Something related to the nutrition, but I and my family didn't know, and we don't have the good diet for him, so he died very fast.
So, but everybody's case could be different, depending on the stage of the cancer as well. But the right concept. But so that's I encourage you. Do the cancer prevention at the beginning. You had a bad habit of cigarette smoking, you should give it up. Your friends, your family member who are still smoking, you should ask them to stop. Right? And practice a good concept about diet. Right? Everything, like many diseases, everything comes about our mouth. we have a hepatitis B virus infection or carcinogen. We having the preservative from the food will help the cancer grow. And you know, during the cell division process, the DNA replication process, so many mutations happening during that time. Okay? These are RNA polymerase, DNA polymerase, they are not error-proof. They still make mistakes. But our system will be able to correct them. But when you have a carcinogen, whatever is there, they prevent that process. So that's the reason you get the potential cell will become tumor damage. So if you could do the cancer prevention, do your best with that. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Xin Chao. Okay, so my guess is that Xin means morning and Chao means early. Is that correct? No?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's my guess based on the similarity of sounds to Chinese. But anyway, so today that's kind of informal. So I would be just have an informal discussion about my journey to become a physician scientist. So many people in the United States have both degrees, have both an MD degree and a PhD degree, and we're trained as a physician and also trained as a scientist. But the term is a physician scientist. You can say that it's arranged this way because P in alphabetical order, P is before S, so it's physician scientist and not scientist physician. But I think that in the end, after you get trained as a scientist, you're always a scientist, and you become a physician. But in the course of caring for the patients as a physician, it really is making you think about what type of knowledge is lacking in the course of patient care, and then your scientist part will kick in, and you will be asking questions, doing the research to find the answers for your clinical relevant questions. So, so in the end, you are still a scientist in the bone. So I start out with this quote from William James Bryan: "Destiny is not a matter of chance; it is a matter of choice. It's not a thing to be waited for, but it is a thing to be achieved."